Welcome back everybody, and thank you for joining us again at Biggsie's Garage. Got a lot of exciting things to share with you today, but first of all, it is time to change the oil on our Roadstar. So when you're working on any kind of project as far as the mechanical goes, it's always a good idea to have a shop manual handy. Even if you're like me and you're just kind of a hack in mechanics, or if you're a mechanic or you're just learning, it's always good to have shop manuals or owner's manuals for the vehicle that you're working on. Even if you're customizing it like crazy, like I plan on doing with both of my motorcycles. One of the great places that I like to use, and there's many of them, I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that in any means, but one of my favorite ones is Haynes.com. You can actually go on and you can purchase a PDF if you want, keep it, or you can purchase the electronic version, which is more of a subscription basis. So it'll give you a year for X number of dollars. I have both of my motorcycles on mine, so if I go over here and I look at Haynes or my subscription. So I have a Honda VT750 Shadow, which is the 1998 to 2006, so mine's a 1999, fits into that category. And then I also have my Yamaha Roadstar series, which is from 1999 to 2007. Mine's a 2000, so it fits within that. They're really great bits of information, especially when you're doing little maintenance things like we're going to do today and change the oil. So all we need to do is go to our Roadstar series motorcycle manual. Let's view that one now. And this gives me all sorts of information, such as how much volume of oil does it take, what type of filters, what kind of other consumable things that I need to do, maintenance steps and things like that to maintain my bike in good working order. We're going to do oil today, so lubrication. In this particular case, they also give you some really handy videos that you could use. They're general, they're not specific to the vehicle. It tells you where you can find the dipstick, how to check, where is the good range, gives you all sorts of tips and stuff like that on there, what type of engine oil, what type of filter you should use, and so forth and so on. Where to find the plugs. Now in our particular case, we have two plugs because it's separated from an oil tank that is actually part of the gear box, and then we have the oil that is within the engine itself, and it just rotates through that. So it goes from the oil tank into the engine, into the engine oil filter, back into the oil tank, and it just does this kind of circular rotation. So it's the same oil that you're using for your gears as you're using for the rest of the engine. So we've got all that. We know where the oil filter is. We know where all the plugs and everything like that are. We know the steps that we need to take. So let's change the oil. One of the problems that I have with my motorcycle as far as getting it up on a lift or even changing the oil straight on the ground is that it is lowered than it would normally be at stock. So the problems I face is trying to get my lift up underneath it. I have to do some creative lifting to get it up off the ground because of this portly shape here. Doesn't work well with getting down close to the ground to try to get pans and stuff like that underneath there to collect the oil as it's dripping out of. That is a challenge that most people will have with a lowered bike. What we need to do now is get it up off the ground. All right, we're all set. So one of the first steps you've got to do is you got to get the engine warmed up to normal riding temperature. I don't have any gauges or anything like that to tell me what the temperature of the engine is at the time. So I'm just going to let it run for a few minutes, and then we're going to come back, turn it off, and start the rest of the procedure. Next step is to remove the seat, because that right there is where the oil goes in. I don't have a custom seat yet. It's kind of a makeshift seat from the original. Here's the setup that I have. Now let's just show you where on the Roadstar where the oil plugs are and why I have a funnel sitting down over here. Let's see, pull that funnel out of the way, and right up in there you can see that little plug, so that will drain into this one. So the reason why I put the little funnel up in there is so that when it starts to filter or drain, I can shove that in there and I can make sure that it actually gets into the tank. Now the other one that's off of the engine, big boy still gotta lay down to do it, but you can see right here, this is the drain plug. So I'm hoping that it will drain right into this oil pan. Talking about oil pans, these oil pans are really great. You can go down to most auto stores, buy these. When you fill it up, you take it, they'll drain it for you for free, and you take your canister back home empty. So it's a great way of disposing your oil without getting charged when you take it to the dump. The manual says it'll take about, you want it to drain between 15-20 minutes or so. One of the other things that you ought to do every time you change the oil, not only do you need a new oil filter, obviously new oil, but you want to make sure that you get a new gasket for your plugs. And I didn't get those, so while it's draining, I'm going to go down to my favorite motorcycle store down here, Steve Cycles in Mesa, and grab a couple washers. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to put these plugs back in to the drain holes. Now I just got back from Steve Cycles, and this is the original copper crush washer is what they call them, because they crush as they seal as you tighten it down. And it's the same type of concept for our exhaust washers or gaskets that we use. As you tighten them down, they crush and they fill in any inconsistencies or uneven surfaces. Now I didn't get the OEM Yamaha ones, which are brass, or sorry, copper. They are, the ones I got were typical with the Hondas and other type of metric bikes, and they're aluminum. So obviously we just stick that crush washer on there. When dealing with oil, always good to have a nice oil rag around. I got a whole bag of these from Home Depot for just a few dollars. But before you put this on, you want to make sure that you wipe down any of the oil, because if there's a trail of oil in between there, then that's just an additional place that your oil can get through. So I'm just going to wipe down that surface where the plug goes in, and then quickly put the plug in. You can do most of it by hand. You don't need to get a ratchet in there or wrench in there until you get it all the way down. And then you grab your, in this case, for my Roadstar, it's a 17 mil. Okay, so I just get it in there. Actually, get this oil pan out of the way. Move it here underneath the oil filter for now. So that's what we're going to empty or take off next. All right, nice. Just get that in there just to crush that washer in there. There we go. Don't need to be a total Superman. Get that down. Now I'm going to do the next step, which is to take off the oil filter, let that drain down into here, and then while that's draining and getting everything going, I'm going to put the plug in on the gearbox and the oil paint or the oil tank. It's kind of hard for a big guy to get up underneath things here, especially doggone motorcycles. So I have this oil wrench that basically, as you tighten it, it grabs. It's this gear mechanism that you put on the end of a ratchet. Now with these, you really don't need to go to town. You just, when you're putting them back on, you just a hand tight and then just like a little bit of a just with those. However, over time, as you're taking them off, they do need a little bit of coaxing. They recommend, a lot of places recommend that you use one of those band type wrenches. But all this is using is just to get it so that it moves and gets it unbroken, because over time that heat and that rubber gasket are going to kind of fuse together a little bit. Now with my drag, you'll see here, there we go, we struck oil. Alright, I'm just using this hand to hold this so it doesn't just fall, because there's a spot on my oil pan here where we can drain what oil is in the oil filter. So while that keeps draining, we'll get that so it's done. I'm going to go to the back and put the back plug in. Now that we've let this drip, drain, and get as much of the oil that's up in this part of the engine and in the filter out, we're just going to wipe it down a little bit, clean off that surface. Again, just to get so that all that, as much of that old oil off. Wipe it down. We're going to leave this under here just in case the process drips oil down here in this spot. Take my new oil filter, which is a high flow Filtro filter. Take that bad boy out. Comes with a seal around it there. So we're going to take that seal off. And we take some fresh oil, not oil from here that we just drained the oil from, but we're going to put fresh oil around the seal here. And I've just poured into the lid of one of the quarts that I'm going to be putting in here with some fresh oil. Use your finger. Okay. Just lubricate that seal. Looks like more oil is dripping, so we're going to quickly get rid of that oil. And then hand tighten my new filter on here. All right, now we can get rid of the oil pan, oil filter, all this stuff. let it drain some more. I'm going to transfer the oil from that pan that we had in the back into here, and then we'll take that down to AutoZone, where they'll dispose of the oil for us and give us our emptied oil pan out. You know you're living in Arizona when your phone turns off in the middle of shooting. As well as you can probably see the perspiration that's constantly dropping down my face, and the fact that I changed my shirt so that it wouldn't be so sweaty. I had gone on to our next step only to find out that it stopped recording. So let's start this all over again by telling you that what we do next is, in the case of the Yamaha Roadstar, is we put 2.5 liters of oil in first, and then we start it, give it a rev 3 to 5 times, turn it off, and then we add the rest of the oil for an oil change. Now in this case, I use Ames oil. It's 100% synthetic. It is designed and manufactured for motorcycles. So I've been really confident with this. I'm not sponsored by Ames oil by any means. It's just a product that I like, and it does well for me. I've already installed 2.5 liters of oil. The full amount that we need to put in on an oil change is 4.1 liters. So basically it'll be all of this and almost all of this. We'll have probably about 0.2 liters left over when we're all done and topped up completely full. So now that I've got the 2.5 liters in here, let's get it a start, rev it up a few times, and put in the rest. Now we'll put in the rest of the oil. There you have it, an oil change on a 2000 Yamaha 1600 Roadstar. And the end of Biggsie's Garage as you know it. No, Biggsie's Garage is not going away. I'm just bringing it back in line with what I originally designed the show to be. You know, my original idea for Biggsie's Garage was to explore the garages, explore the shops, the sheds, the hobby spaces, even the barns, and introduce to you, my viewers, the projects, activities, and hobbies, and the people that are doing them. It was never only about my projects or my garage. However, I will still keep you up to date as to what I'm doing in my garage and to my garage, along with the products and services that I use to accomplish what I'm doing. This is a bold step for me and can only be done with your help. The cost of travel required to see these garages, the projects, and the people behind them is well beyond my means. To help me raise the funds needed to do this, I'll be creating and making available various swag items and merch through my website, biggsiesgarage.com. The first item I'm making available on my website is my new limited edition logo tee. This will be limited to a print run of 500 t-shirts. Every shirt will be printed with my new logo, the one that you see up above in the header. It will have a small one on the chest, and it'll have a large one on the back, and inside it'll have a printed tag with the shirt size, the print run number, so what number it was printed as it came off the press, and my quick little signature to indicate the authenticity of the shirt. Here's the kicker. The first 200 shirts will be available through pre-order. This is to help with the cost of the full run of 500 limited, never to be printed again shirts. Now all pre-order shirts will be made available in whatever size you want. As far as color goes, I will be offering the original Henry Ford Model T options. You can choose whatever color you want as long as it's black. The first 200 shirts will also include a limited logo sticker that will identify the buyer as one of the first 200. After the initial 200 pre-order sale, the remaining 300 shirts will be printed on an assortment of shirts ranging in sizes of large to 3XL. It is my hope that you can help me reach the goal of selling 500 limited edition t-shirts and getting an additional 500 subscribers as I race to my next goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers and beyond. If you have not already done so, please subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you so wish. Leave me a comment below and share this channel with your friends. Don't forget, you can also visit me on Facebook, Instagram, and Biggsie'sGarage.com. And I almost forgot. Until next episode, keep on wrenching.